For several years, I've watched, I've listened, and I've been deeply concerned. I've watched landowners fighting to protect their private property rights. I have listened to their pleas, and I have been disturbed by the fact that others do not hear their pleas or the truth of their message. The Constitution of the state of Iowa is very clear on the use of eminent domain only for public use projects. The statutory language in Iowa Code is very clear that an eminent domain project must be both convenient and necessary, not for those seeking eminent domain, but for the citizens of Iowa. Yet, even though the Iowa Supreme Court has made it clear that they align with the dissenting view in the United States Supreme Court decision Kelo versus New London, meaning they take the strict view of public use, and even though the CO2 pipeline project does not meet the Constitution's public use definition or the statutory requirement convenient and necessary, Iowa landowners, several years into this, are still having to fight, still having to come to the Capitol, still having to stand out in terrible weather, pleading with their elected officials to do the right thing, and are still facing uncertainty, their land in limbo. Still having to deal with an Iowa Utilities Board that frequently changes the rules and does not appear to respect or appreciate the gravity of the situation for landowners, century farm owners, and citizens who own their property and do not want the pipeline. Last year, this body, in a bipartisan vote, passed protections for landowners against the use of eminent domain for the CO2 pipeline projects. The Senate, however, did not act. Today, once again, the House is debating legislation to add additional protections for landowners against unconstitutional eminent domain requests. This bill is very simple, giving both landowners and companies seeking to use eminent domain the right to petition the courts for a declaratory judgment as to the constitutionality of the eminent domain request. This legislation applies to hazardous liquid pipelines, is fair to both sides, and has the potential to save precious time and money for all concerned. There is no doubt that this is not the last eminent domain debate that there will be in Iowa. There is no doubt that there will be future disputes as to the constitutionality of eminent domain requests far beyond the one that is being discussed right now. And the debate will continue around this issue because precious constitutional rights are at stake. Why shouldn't there therefore be these protections in place, allowing for a declaratory judgment to be made when the fundamental constitutional right of private property is at stake? This legislation does not take away authority from the Iowa Utilities Board. This legislation does not change the basic functioning of the Iowa Utilities Board. This legislation simply allows both landowners and companies the opportunity to have a declaratory judgment up front on the constitutionality of an eminent domain request before precious time and money are wasted. This legislation would allow landowners a little peace of mind, getting to know up front the validity of an eminent domain request so that they could plan accordingly, as opposed to waiting and fighting for years, their land in limbo, their futures in doubt, their lives full of tension and fear, while they plead with their elected officials to hear them. To the landowners that might be listening online or watching online, or those that are here today, many of us on both sides of the aisle have heard this, have heard you, and in a bipartisan way, I hope, will take action today to reinforce and place safeguards around the use of eminent domain so that you will not spend years in frustration and limbo, pleading and spending your hard-earned money to protect your fundamental right of private property against companies with buckets of money that don't give a tinker's damn about what is right and just. Brilliant in its simplicity, this legislation goes to the heart of the debate and allows up front the central question of constitutionality to be answered. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the Speaker of the House for his steadfast leadership on this issue. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for doing the right thing in spite of the pressure to do otherwise. I want to say thank you to Representative Bobby Kaufman for always leading on the eminent domain issues, Representative Charlie Thompson for his legal brilliance and for leading this year's fight, and other legislators who fought to get this to the floor, those who intervened on behalf of landowners before the Iowa Utilities Board, and mostly, thank you to landowners who have refused to quit, representing the kind of character that I think built this nation. You have refused to give up, and because of you, I think we should all have faith that freedom will endure in Iowa. Mr. Speaker, I look forward to the bipartisan vote that I hope will come shortly as we reinforce the words of Washington. Freedom and private property rights are inseparable. You can't have one without the other. And it is the right thing to do to see this legislation signed into law by the governor in support of the fundamental right of private property. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.